In Colombia, President Gustavo Petro proposed to hold for the first time an assembly of coca farmers during his visit to Catatumbo region. In the UK, postal workers joined the union strikes demanding better salary conditions in line with inflation. Pakistani Prime Minister Muhammad Shehbaz Sharif toured the flood-hit Sindh province Saturday and met with displaced people at a relief camp. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Colombia, President Gustavo Petro proposed to hold for the first time an assembly of coca farmers during his visit to Catatumbo region. Petro's visit to the northern part of the department of Santander marked the first time a president of this country has traveled to Catatumbo to meet with the social sectors in the region. During his visit, the president stressed the importance of changing the punitive approach towards people who harvest coca in the country and confirmed that far from persecuting farmers, it is necessary to turn the region into a much more prosperous area, thus achieving a transition from Catatumbo to an industrial food production zone, which will benefit the families of Colombia. Mexico's General Attorney's Office have indicted Colonel Jose Rodriguez Perez for the disappearance and murder of 6 of the 43 Ayotzinapa students. The announcement was made at a press conference by Alejandro Encinas, Undersecretary for Human Rights and President of the Truth Commission. Encinas said that the information pointing to Rodriguez derived from investigating a series of calls made to an emergency number, which provided evidence about the 6 students being held alive. Encinas underscored that federal and state authorities at the highest level were omissive and negligent in their functions, and that there is evidence suggesting they altered the facts and circumstances around this case, which favor impunity for those responsible. So far, the GA has issued 83 arrest warrants, 20 of them against military officers for different crimes related to this case. Also in Mexico, a relative of the 43 missing normalistas mobilized in the capital to take a position on the report presented by the Truth Commission on the Ayotzinapa case. This is the first public appearance that the relatives have had to declare after the arrest of the former Attorney General, Jesus Murillo Caram. The crime of the 43 normalistas was catalogued as a state crime, and the security forces and other officials are accused of their participation in the events. Authorities informed the parents and relatives of the students that there are no indications that they are still alive. On Saturday, people took to the streets in Argentina and other countries in defense of Vice President Cristina Fernández. In Buenos Aires, the main gathering will take place at Lezama Park in the San Telmo neighborhood at 3 p.m. local time. Other actions are expected to be carried out in Spain, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Italy, Portugal, Brazil, and Australia. These mobilizations are in addition to the vigil held since Monday by members of the Frente de Todos coalition and representatives of other civil sectors in front of Fernández's residence in the neighborhood of Recoleta, following a prosecutor's request for 12 years of imprisonment and a permanent ban from political office for the former president. In Chile, the police repressed a protest of Mapuche groups for the freedom of political prisoners. Demonstrators demanded the release of the leader Héctor Laitul, who has been in preventive custody since Wednesday. Chilean demonstrators who mobilized this Friday in favor of Mapuche resistance were repressed by Chilean police in the surrounding area of Alameda Square in Santiago de Chile, when they demanded freedom for all political prisoners. The protest is related to the arrest of Mapuche leader Héctor Laitul, who has been in provisional detention since Wednesday, accused of several crimes, including an alleged attack against the state. In the Alameda sector, the police used hydrant cars to disperse the demonstrators who were protesting peacefully. The march in the capital coincides with a new wave of disturbances in several spots of the country. Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro held a meeting with the Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Economy and Planning of the Republic of Cuba, Alejandro Gil Fernandez. The meeting was part of the official working visit of the Cuban Vice Premier to Venezuela, which is aimed at strengthening the relations between both countries. It should be recalled that last week, the Venezuelan president announced that the country will help Cuba in the reconstruction of Matanzas supertanker base, destroyed by a major fire at the beginning of August. In this sense, both high officials highlighted the cooperation ties between Caracas and Havana. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. In Brazil begins this Friday free propaganda in radio and television for the candidates that will run in the next elections of October 2nd. During the broadcasting days, candidates for governorships, district deputies, senators, and those running for the presidency and vice presidency of the country will participate. In addition, they will be able to appear in two modalities of disclosure for 70 minutes distributed in commercial segments in the schedules of the station from Monday to Friday between 5 o'clock local time and midnight. They may choose to show contents with 30 or 60 seconds. Presidential candidate Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva met with the candidate for governor of Rio de Janeiro, Marcelo Freixo, where the government plan for the state was presented. Among the proposals presented by Freixo is the creation of employment through the naval and oil industries, in addition to investment in urban transportation and structuring works in communities. For his part, presidential candidate Lula da Silva pointed out that it is necessary to expand the state's abilities to meet the community's security needs.
The news says that there are many bandits, that there is a lot of war in the favelas, when the truth is that all these wars are not due to the lack of police or police excesses. These wars happen because there is no state present fulfilling its social functions.
Likewise, Rio de Janeiro gubernatorial candidate Marcelo Freixo pointed out the importance of the state attending to communities in las favelas.
We are defending a very important project, such as the Prosperity Neighborhood, where sports and assistance are integrated with policies for women that reach all the families in places of violence, where the police are on one side and the state is on the other, taking care of all lives and leaving no one behind.
In Ukraine, the radioactive isotopes area of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant was hit by 4 shells launched by Kiev forces. Authorities said that the shelling did not damage either the infrastructure or key areas of the plant, while the level of radiation is normal. For its part, the Russian Defense Ministry confirmed that the aggression was perpetrated with large-caliber artillery weapons and that the shells hit the oxygen-nitrogen station and the area near the special zone of the first reactor. In this regard, Moscow denounced that Kiev continues to carry out a campaign of nuclear terror, which could have serious consequences for the civilian population. Canada will return to Germany the remaining 5 repair turbines used to supply gas from Russia to Europe. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz visited Canada for the negotiation of the return of the remaining 5 turbines of the Nord Stream 1 pipeline being repaired in Canada. Affected by the Western sanctions against Russia, the turbines sent to Canada for maintenance couldn't be returned to Russia in time, resulting that Russia's state-owned energy company Gazprom reduced the natural gas supply to Germany by nearly 60%. Canada returned 1 turbine to Germany after granting an exception to sanctions on Russia, but Gazprom refused to accept it. With only 1 gas turbine engine compressor working, the gas delivery from Russia to Germany have been cut to 20% of the pipeline's full capacity. Latvia dismantles a 79-meter-tall World War II memorial in Riga, the capital city. A concrete obelisk topped with Soviet stars that was the centerpiece of the monument honoring the Red Army's victory over Nazi Germany was toppled in Latvia's capital. the latest in a series of Soviet monuments demolished following Russia's special military operation in Ukraine. The monument had lately become a rallying point for the Kremlin supporters in Latvia. Demolition occurred amid calls from the Baltic states' ethnic Russian minority to leave it standing. In the United Kingdom, postal workers joined the union strikes to demand better salary conditions. More than 100,000 workers of the British postal company Royal Mail go on strike on Friday to demand wage increases in line with inflation. Union movements of communication workers said that the purpose of the strike is to demand a decent salary increase. The strike was approved at the beginning of August with 97.6% of the votes of the union members and will be followed by strikes called for August 31st and September 8th and 9th. During this summer, other sectors of the country have progressively joined the strikes and mobilizations. TeleSUR will dedicate its coverage of the Football World Cup Qatar 2022 to the figure of Diego Armando Maradona, who accompanied our crew in the last two World Cups. With the football star, we also tour our continent with the show TeleSUR da Viajero. We want this tribute to have its own music. With that in mind, we invite you to compose a song for TeleSUR's coverage of Qatar 2022 Football World Cup. It must be an original song, never recorded before or published in any media and free of legal attachments. Record the song in any format, WAV, MP3, even with your cell phone, and send it as an attachment to comunicaciones@telesurtv.net with the following information: author's name, nationality, and name of the song. The closing date for the call for entries is September 10th, 2022. A jury of prestigious musicians and composers from the region will select the winning piece. The prize will be the recording of the song, a video clip, and the wide diffusion of the work. 1 week after the closing of the call, TeleSUR will announce the results. We have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Pakistani Prime Minister Muhammad Shehbaz Sharif toured the flood-hit Sindh province Saturday and met with displaced people at a relief camp. Flash floods triggered by heavy monsoon rains across much of Pakistan have killed nearly 1,000 people and injured and displaced thousands more since mid-June, officials said Saturday. The new death toll came a day after Sharif asked for international help in battling deadly flood damage in the impoverished Islamic nation. The monsoon season, which began in June, has lashed Pakistan with particularly heavy rains this year, and rescuers have struggled to evacuate thousands of people from flood-hit areas. The United Nations on Thursday said it has allocated $3 million for UN aid agency and their partners in Pakistan to respond to the floods. United Nations spokesperson said that 340,000 people have now been impacted by catastrophic flooding in 11 of Chad's 23 provinces. Spokesperson for the Secretary General, Stéphane Dujarric, said that as of 16 of August, the flooding had killed 22 people and caused extensive damage to homes, infrastructure, agricultural lands, and livestock. Dujarric said we, along with our humanitarian partners, are supporting the government-led response to provide life-saving assistance, including food, health services, shelter, and other essential supplies. Heavy rains have been affecting this landlocked Central African country for several weeks. The spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary General, Stéphane Dujarric, referred Friday about the drought situation faced by the Great Horn of Africa and its consequences on its population.
The other side of the coin is in Chad, where 340,000 people have now been impacted by catastrophic flooding in 11 of the country's 20. Tuesday, we hope to have our head We, along with our humanitarian partners, are supporting the government-led response to provide life-saving assistance, including food, health services, shelter, and other essential supplies. So far, we've reached around 30,000 people in the east and in N'Djamena. We're ramping up our efforts to reach more people. And our team yesterday called for financial support from donors. The humanitarian needs prior to the floods were only funded at 34% as of mid-August, with $171 million received out of $510 million needed.
And a TV station in Ethiopia's Tigray region reported that an airstrike by the country's Air Force on Friday afternoon hit a kindergarten, causing death and injuries. Tigray television quoted eyewitnesses saying the attack had taken place at around 1 p.m. local time and had hit a kindergarten called Red Kid Paradise in Mekele, the Tigrayan capital. The broadcaster aired images of damaged buildings, including children's play equipment and residents receiving hospital treatment. Tigray officials have not yet revealed the number of casualties and injured, but the director of Mekele's Haider Hospital, Kibron Gebreselassie, said on Twitter that 2 children were among the dead. The strike comes amid a resumption of fighting between Ethiopian federal forces and Tigray fighters. Both sides accuse each other of restarting the war in the early hours of Wednesday after a lull in fighting since June 2021.
I believe the airstrike happened around noon. Our neighborhood is a residential area. Only civilians live here.
This is very difficult. What we are going through and we are witnessing is very difficult. We have reached a point where we can't save lives despite working day and night. This is tough.
One of the observer missions overlooking Angola's electoral process congratulated voters for their peaceful and orderly participation. Angola's Joao Lourenço was set to remain president as his party maintained its lead in the country's most hotly contested election in its democratic history, with more than 97% of ballots tallied. Results published by the country's Electoral Commission gave the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola 51.07% of the vote. The main opposition group, the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, led by Adalberto Costa Jr., stood at 44.05%. The leader of the winning party automatically ascends to the presidency in the oil-rich former Portuguese colony. TeleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on screen are in place since July 1st, and quite soon further change will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now more than ever, the world connects to us, and our stories are heard in all the faraway nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and all faithfulness to our audience. We have come to the end of this news brief, where you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. And now you can also follow us on TikTok at the account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.